Welcome to Act 2, You're On. Join us weekly at our studio roundtable as Rhonda, Kate, and Linda invite spectacular guests to weigh in on staying sexy, vibrant, and healthy. Launch your next great act with authenticity and purpose.
Summon your courage, superstar, and step into the limelight. So grab a coffee
or a martini,
and let's set the stage for a grand entrance. It's Act 2.
You're on.
Greetings, friends. I'm Kate Levy, and I have the great pleasure of podcasting with my two dynamic co-hosts,
Rhonda Garvin-Conaway.
And I'm Linda Ty, and we are also joined by our talented producers, Susan Nagel and Kathy Carswell.
Listeners, who would like to hear the exact recipe for taking a passion and rolling it into a successful, delicious second act? Well, you are in for a tasty treat because our guest today is none other than the talented Debbie Butters, the owner of Coco Butter Cookies, the most delicious and gorgeous handcrafted cookies and a scrappy little cookie company you need to know about and hire for your next event. Let me tell you a little bit about Debbie Butters. Debbie was a Patriots cheerleader for 4 years, a fitness competitor, a teacher, and then a stay-at-home mom for 18 years, caring for her amazing brood of five. I won't give her another kid yet. 6 years ago, however, Debbie launched her second act, creating Coco Butter Cookies, a custom cookie decorating business that has been incredibly successful, allowing Debbie the balance of being an entrepreneur while raising her kids. So welcome, Debbie Butters.
Welcome.
Yay. Thank you. Good morning.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be part of this.
The only thing that could make this better is if we had a cookie.
We had the cookies.
We'll do that for the promo.
I'm going to send them to you.
Honestly, so now I've had you make your cookies for a couple events for business. And they are delicious. You know how sometimes you get like a really beautiful cookie and these are gorgeous. We'll get to later figuring out how do you make your design so perfect, but they taste good. That doesn't often come together. Like beautiful and tasty.
Yeah.
Well, I will say that to me was the biggest driving force in these cookies. I wanted to do the decorated cookies, but I was like, I had that situation with my kids. So many times you'd go to the store, they'd see this super cute cookie. It'd be, pretty expensive because, it's a decorated cookie, and I would buy it for them and one bite and they were done.
Yeah.
And I would say you don't want to eat the cookie. So then, don't want to waste the cookie. So I'm going to take one and up for the team. I'm going to eat the cookie. And even I was like, it doesn't taste good. So I was like, in decorating these cookies, I need to make sure they look good and I need to make sure they taste good because I can get the order on them looking good. I felt confident about that. But if they didn't taste good, the order would be one and done. They'd order, have it for their party, not satisfied, and nobody would come back. So I really made sure that I had something that I thought was going to be good to look at and good to eat.
So I am really eager to find out, and I'm sure that our listeners who are on the verge of, the next great act, to find out how you rolled into your second act. And was this a recipe that you had from your family, or did you always like to bake, or what was it that kind of gave you the impetus to just get started?
So I think even more than the actual baking, for me, the love is in the decorating. Mm-hmm. I always would I didn't know what I wanted to do, right? Like, I wasn't like, I want to be a doctor. I want to be this. So that I felt like, I was so envious of people who even in college thought, I want to be a lawyer, because then they had a path. Mm. I was like, I'm going to do this. I don't like it. I'm going to do this. It's not for me. I would try a million things, but I always knew in my mind, I wanted to be creative. I wanted my days to be different. I wanted yesterday to be different from tomorrow. And I wasn't sure how to make that happen. So I was staying home with the kids, doing little side jobs, little things here and there. And a friend of mine who our youngest, they were in preschool together, and she's a great baker. She's can take any ingredient, throw it in the mixer, delicious. So she had a bunch of recipes, and her family would always say to her, you should sell your cookies. People would buy them. So she said to me one time, like, oh, do you want to like, go in a cookie business with me? And I was like, yeah, definitely. Like, of course, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm on board. So we started putting together like, cookies, but they were like home style cookies, cookie bars, drop cookies. We would have, taste testers at the preschool. The teachers loved us. And we did that for like a year, like for like Christmas, Thanksgiving. But that was like just Thanksgiving, just Christmas, just Easter. People don't tend to order that because, you can make your own chocolate chip cookies, right? So then I was like, I really would love to try decorated cookies. And she was like, I am not like, I don't want to decorate. And I'm like, I'm going to see. So I would say I also spent about a year trying different recipes, tweaking them. The royal icing to me was a big sticking point because I don't think that always can taste good. So I would try different recipes. I would do the same thing. I would have taste tests. I'd have people taste different things until I finally did come up with one that I was like, this is it. And her name, so the way we came up with the name is her name is Colleen, but she always went by Coco. And my married name is Butters. So she was like, I have the greatest idea, like Coco Butters Cookies. And I was like, oh my, it's like meant to be. Mm-hmm. So I put out my very first offering in Halloween of, I want to say it was like 2015. And I like made the cookies. It was like Frankenstein. And like, I thought they were like, cute. But then I sent a picture to my sister who, my sister, and like, she's so nice. And I was like, oh God, do you think I should put these on and like sell them? She's like, yeah, like absolutely sell them. Like people will buy them. So I'm like, I'm going to put them on. I'm going to get like one mercy invite. It's probably going to be my sister. And then she's going to be like, stop. So I did. I put them on Facebook and I've never looked back. It has been busier every single month since that October. I never anticipated it.
Wow. That's so awesome. That's crazy. Amazing. Yeah.
I have been so fortunate to eat your cookies, buy your cookies, share them at parties and celebrations, and they are a hit, a talk of the party. Everyone is incredibly impressed by what you produce. It is a phenomenal story, and the name is, of course, it just tickles us with a name like Butters. You can't go wrong. It's amazing. But what we'd love to learn a little bit more about some of the specific work you're doing right now. We hear that there are kits that you are offering and classes. So not only are you someone people could go to and actually order from, but there are other variations of what you're providing as an entrepreneur. So share with us about that piece of the venture.
So I started doing the cookie kits that are anybody can just buy. There's a dozen cookies in there, icing, and you can, you just want to get it home and you want to just like decorate your own cookies. I started doing that. And I also started with the pandemic last year doing like online parties. So I would take those kits and I would make, the people would typically have like 10 people. They would pick up the kit. So each person had a kit at their house. And then we would Zoom kind of like we're doing right here. And then I would actually teach them, instead of just saying, here are your bags of icing, go for it. I would teach them specifically how to decorate a certain cookie. And the thing with the cookies is that it looks difficult. Like it looks like when you go to one of those paint bars with your friends and they're like, you're going to paint this picture. And you're like, I'm not going to paint that picture. And you're done and you all have this like amazing picture. It's like that, like if you can do it step by step, you can do it and you're making something that you're like super proud of. So I started doing that. I recently started, now that everything is opening up, teaching decorating classes at little events. I've done 2 so far where we have like a theme. So this was obviously a summer theme that I did recently. And the people come and they get like the exact icing they need, the different consistencies, and then they can create, we made like a little cookie bouquet. They can create a little cookie bouquet that they can take home with them. And I think I kind of like can tap into the creative side of everybody. Even if you don't think you have that side in you, you have it a little bit and you really can tap into it.
I love your cookie bouquets. Those are really, they're adorable. Yeah, they're amazing.
I'm feeling an act 2 you're on promo cookie making experience, because I have to say, I've always looked at the design and thought, I have no idea. I love to bake, but I've never decorated like that.
Yeah.
It just looks really hard, but I would love to do that. Wouldn't it be super fun?
It would be super fun.
Make me feel accomplished.
Yes.
Well, you definitely feel good after you do it. And the one thing, like I always say to my husband, is like selfishly about these cookies. So like, as you said, I have 5 kids, and you almost said 6, and you can say 6 because I have a dog, and you can say 7 because I have a husband. So I've got a whole bunch of people like rely on me for a whole bunch of stuff. So, but I feel like with children, one of the things that's difficult is like, I feel like a lot of your success is like in hindsight, like, did I do it right? You know, my son just turned 18, and I can look back and I can say, you know what? He's happy, he's healthy, he's well adjusted. Like, okay, I did it right. But that's like in hindsight. And the cookies, I find I can like pour my heart into these designs and love them. And I can give them to somebody, and people are so gracious, and they'll either say right to me, or sometimes they'll email me after and just say like, you know, thank you so much. It was great, or people loved them, or it was so meaningful. And it's like almost that instant gratification. You know, and so selfishly, it feels good to make it and give that and have them appreciate it. And it just is kind of like a little boost every time I do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally appreciate that. Right. Everything it's always nice when you can have something be acknowledged and loved immediately. However, you know, I'm just very curious. You had this vision and you went about doing it, but I know a lot of us have a vision, right? We think, oh, it'd be really cool to make cookies and decorate them and sell them. And then we go, oh, I could never figure that out. Like, I could never do it. So what kind of advice would you give, I guess, to our viewers and listeners about what the challenges that you had? What made you keep going? Like, what made you say, yeah, this is great, and then do it?
That's such a good question. I honestly think a couple of things. I think that I find a lot of comfort in finding like humor in situations. So I don't see it as, I never saw it as I might do this and I might fail. I saw it as I might do this and the cookies might look ridiculous. And oh my God, isn't that funny? In 10 years, I'll be telling my family, remember that time I tried to start a cookie business, and we'll all laugh about it. So I always felt that safety in, I'm not going to fail in a way that's going to feel bad for me. And I also feel very strongly about, and I read this somewhere, and I don't know exactly if I'm going to say it right, but something along the lines of, there's someone out there confidently doing what you want to do with like half the skill that you have. And so a lot of it just comes down to saying like, you know what, I can do this. I know I can do this, and I'm just going to do it. And if you don't like it, that's fine. But like, I know what I'm talking about, and I can do this. So I think it comes down to like finding the humor in it, and just the confidence to say like, you know, fake it till you make it kind of thing.
Well, I think that positive mindset is everything. And I think it seems like you just have that, or maybe you have the reinforcement of your family that helps. But it is definitely something that you can learn, and something you need to be successful. And so that's a great tip for our listeners to know. If that's the stumbling block, if that is the self-doubt that's keeping you back, find a way to get over that hurdle. Do what it takes, and you can change your mindset, but surround yourself by people who, like your sister, just said, go for it. What's the worst that could happen? And I think that is the key to any, and it seems to be a theme that we're hearing about, just pushing past. There will be challenges. You kind of have to count on them, and yet not let them derail you.
Definitely. And I think speaking to like having your second act, because it does feel like for me, at least, I did stay home with my kids. And then once they started to become old enough to not quite need me as much, it did kind of feel like this, like, what now? Like, who am I? I just poured my, decades into creating this. But now, like, like, who am I now? And I really feel like a lot of women, I know men also, but I feel like a lot of women go through that and they get to this point and they are like, well, who am I? Like, I'm not just a wife. I'm not, I always say, like, when you get engaged and you're like, I'm almost a bride, and then you get married and you're like, I'm a new wife. And then you have kids, you're like, I'm a mom. And then you're like, well, what am I now? So I love when women get to that stage and then they find something that they want to do and then they find a way to do it. And my son is 18 and he just graduated and he doesn't have like a plan of what he wants to do. Like, he doesn't have, I'm going to go to college. I'm going to do whatever. And the thing I keep trying to say to him, and I believe this in my heart, is you can always change your mind. And I use myself as an example and my husband as an example, because he actually was in sales for 25 years and he hated sales and he's actually shy by nature. So to make sales is very uncomfortable. And then after 25 years at a job, he was like, I want to paint. Like, I want to, like, I'm good with my hands. And he reinvented, and now he's an interior painter and doing really well with it. So I say to my 18-year-old son, you can always change your mind. Don't feel like I'm going to go on this path. Okay, it better be the right path because it is the only path I'm going on. You can go on that path and then you can say, either it's not working or I want to add to it, or I'm going to go here, or I'm going to stop. I'm going to get off. I'm going to go on the next path. There's so many paths. This is one journey that may lead you to another journey. And that I feel like, for me, I know it's like freeing, like, okay, this isn't a forever decision. This is my decision now. It might work, but if it doesn't, I can go in another direction. And I found that to be like very relaxing for me. No stress.
That is a fantastic guiding philosophy. And what a gift to give that to your child and to our listeners. I should tell the story about when I first reached out to you to say, boy, I would love to have you come on and be on the podcast. Yeah. And I was explaining sort of our mission and trying to help people find their passion, find out what do they want to do, what are the hurdles and challenges, and how do we encourage people? Because the world needs people with forward motion, and perhaps a little cookie company can change the world with that positive spirit. And, it's really remarkable. Take a passion and go for it. And you happen to write back to me. You said, oh my gosh, it was kismet, because I've been thinking so much, how do I help other people do what I've done? Yes. So maybe you could speak to that a little bit.
So I feel very passionate about helping people maybe even just open their eyes to what they see as maybe like a stumbling block. Like, I always think, when you're like, say you're like in a big puzzle and you're one piece of the puzzle, like you can't really see where to go. But if you're outside the puzzle and you're looking, you can see the whole picture. And sometimes I feel like you need other people around you to help you see that whole picture. Like, you're in the middle, you can't see it, but you might see your stumbling blocks. But these are things that you can do. So one thing that I'm actually in the process of doing is I am creating a course right now that people can buy to actually teach you how that you can start your own basically cookie decorating business or cookie business at your own home. So if you're a stay-at-home mom, or God forbid, we have another lockdown, you're home, your kids are there, but you're able to contribute to the family financially. You're able to feel good about yourself because you're doing something you like. And it's just like it's a fun thing. So I'm actually working on that course now, which I'm hoping I can launch in about a month, that people can buy. And then they can also do this, what I've done. Like, you can do what I've done. I'm going to show you how to do it. You can do what I've done. And I love what I do. And you can love what you do.
This is great. We will definitely have that. That'll be in the link to when your podcast is airing. Perfect. People can go and they'll see that link. And what a gift to get share time, but learn your art form, but just to get that lesson. And that's what it's all about. Yep. People helping other people, putting that hand out, say, I'll show you what I do, because it's not competition. The world needs cookies. There's plenty of business for everyone out there.
Yeah.
It's
absolutely.
great.
It's not competition. I always feel like if you're strong, that makes me stronger. Mm-hmm. There's not just one strength and you have it. That means I'm not as strong. If you're strong, I'm stronger. And if I can be strong for you, that's going to make you stronger. The stronger we are, the stronger we can make each other. And that to me is very important.
And that's a good teacher, not to be miserly with your knowledge, but just to hand it on, because it's good karma, but it's what the world needs now. It needs love, but it also needs people who share their recipe for success. And that's very inspiring.
Thank you.
And your love does come through as you talk about what you do. So I'm wondering if there's a little secret in that as well, because so often there's documentation from entrepreneurs that they do their business and they get into it, and their love is there for the craft and the art, but other components of the business feel really challenging. Can you speak to how you maybe deal with that, or maybe none of it feels challenging to you, but you went into it for the love of the decorating, and then you did all this creative work around finding the recipe and the right flavors. But what about the other stuff that accompanies executing the business that you have?
Okay. Hands down, without a doubt, I could not do it if I did not have somebody helping me keep organized, keep my schedule, tell me to stop taking orders because I'm already overbooked. So I have a very good friend, Danielle. That's her niche. She's like type A, organized. And so we meet once a week and we go over the week schedule and we go over what I have to do, when I need to have cookies done by, who I need to get back in touch with. She checks my email for me. I couldn't do it without that. That's not my forte. And I could make that my forte, but then I couldn't do, I don't have the mental capacity to do both. And without a doubt, I find she saves me every single time. So I think if you're somebody who can do both, I'm amazed by you. And if you're somebody who can't, because I did in the beginning before I had Danielle, I'd be like, oh my God, I'm up all night trying to figure out, the orders. And then the days that I have off, I'm working on the business. And then the days I'm not working on the business, I'm making the cookies. And it felt very like, I think I'm doing it wrong, and I was doing it wrong because I wasn't reaching out and I wasn't saying, you know what, I need help with this part of it. Mm-hmm. And as soon as I did that, makes all the difference in the world. She loves helping because that's her strength. And it makes me so much better because then I cannot have to worry about, that happening or someone showing up at my door and saying, you had me scheduled for cookies, as I'm like sitting on the couch, like watching TV, like, huh? So I try to avoid that at all costs. So she helps me. She helps me stay on track.
That's a great high level skill, to know that you cannot do it all and give yourself permission to be awesome at the thing that you're awesome at, and then go find the help that you need, the right kind of personality. That is another hurdle to jump over, folks. You don't need to know how to do it. There are people who can help you shore up whatever is the gap or the thing that you need. Go find your team awesome. Remember, we talked about team awesome. And that's just another positive mindset of, I can do this. And if I can't do it alone, I'll find the folks who can help me bring my dream to reality.
Absolutely. I've read that that's why most businesses fail, is because they think I have to be able to do it all. And they get kind of caught up in that I have to be able to do it all, instead of recognizing, I could excel at what I'm really good at if I got somebody else to help with this other piece that's not my forte.
Mm.
Yes, definitely. And it also, it gives that other person who, if that is their strength, they're able to help you. So you're actually giving them something that then they feel good because they're able to help, so it's kind of like so synergistic, like everything works together. But yes, definitely taking the help that's offered and accepting the help, and then knowing that this is probably, you look at big companies, no big company runs by itself.
No way.
Everybody helps. You look at families, like families don't run by themselves. Every member, they have to help keep that family going. And this is no different.
Absolutely. So you've given us so many golden nuggets already. I mean, really, this has been full of incredible advice and wisdom and joy and passion. Is there any one extra golden nugget that you would give to our viewers and listeners who are, I love how you said it. You know, I know who I am when I get married and I'm a wife. I know who I am when I'm a mom. I know who that is. And then our kids grow up and you do say, oh, who am I now? And it can happen at any time in life, right? Who am I now? So just making that decision, going for it, what would be, do you have anything you'd like to say before we have to close to our viewers and listeners?
I think a big message that I try to give, especially to my kids, is, you know, a year's going to go by anyway. So if you have an idea of something that you want to do, don't wait to do it, because in a year, you're going to look back and you're either going to have spent that year thinking about whether or not you should do it, or you're going to spend that year looking back and thinking, okay, you know what? I jumped in with both feet. I made some mistakes along the way, but a year later, I'm so much closer to my goal than I was last year. So the time's going to go by anyway. Jump in with both feet. Don't worry about the mistakes. Get to where you need to go. Just jump in.
I love it.
And unfortunately, with the spirit of time, we have to say goodbye. That's my job. I have to say it's our time to kind of wrap up. But before we do, we just want to be really clear. What is happening for you next?
So my next big venture is I am launching my course so that people can also jump on board with this.
Phenomenal.
And, I am trying to hone my skills a little bit more with getting my cookies just a little bit. I have a couple of visions of how I would like to make them like a little bit better, and possibly getting into a couple of little local shops around my town.
Well, good luck with that. I am convinced it will be a great success.
Absolutely. And we'll talk offline about setting up our cookie decorating party. I think that would be so fun and great to film. Well, thank you, Debbie, so much for all of the wisdom, for sharing your recipe for success, and this wonderful conversation and the practical advice. I love practical advice because it gives us all something that we can grasp onto if we have an idea. And these little tidbits, these little golden nuggets, they are really helpful. It's about how we help each other succeed and rise.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
It is fun, and we don't want the fun to stop for folks. So if friends listening want to learn more about how they can get cookies or take one of Debbie's courses or anything else that she's involved with, it's amazing. You can find her on Facebook, on Instagram. You can email Debbie at cocobutterscookies@yahoo.com, and cocobutterscookies.com is the website. So look her up.
Definitely. Check it out.
Special thanks to our talented and skilled production duo behind the scenes, Kathy Carswell and Susan Nagel. And so, friends, it's left for me to say, go forth, be brave, live well, and do good, because it's Act 2 and you're on. Act 2 You're On was brought to you by Act 2 Share Our Stage.
You can find us at a2yo.com and also on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Don't keep us a secret. Share us with your friends. Please listen and subscribe wherever you find your podcasts. You can support us using Patreon. Thanks for listening.